Hello everyone, this is Crypto Dollar here. Welcome to another video.
$1 out of private bank accounts and you print a couple $1 trillion and all of a sudden, you know what happens? People start to worry. So out of this worry, we have something called the Bitcoin. Bitcoin is an electronic online digital currency, was created about 3 years ago, kind of flew under the radar. Now it's starting to actually gain some traction. You exchange your dollars, you exchange your euros, whatever, you go onto these networks and it's an accepted currency, and it's zooming in value lately. Just unbelievable how much this has taken off. And there are places that are beginning to actually accept this sort of universal digital currency. Kind of operates in the shadows, not regulated, but it's a total outgrowth of people starting to get worried about these currency crises, debt crises. Where are these things accepted? Still not a lot of places. I checked out online, not a lot of websites that you would recognize, but the places are kind of novelty clothing, gaming sites, yeah, wait for it, porn, some of those places. But, you know, there are a lot of drawbacks, there are a lot of fears that I'm sure that our guests are going to talk about, but this tells you how really insecure people are in this age of debt and currency crises and all the other things that we have going on in the world.
First, I have to give Bitcoin creators credit. At least they know enough not to trust fiat money that's controlled by our government. But they're trying to reinvent the wheel, and they've come up with a flat tire. We already have a perfect, real form of money, and it's called gold. Money has to have 4 elements. It has to be very rare, indestructible, divisible without losing its purchasing power, and cannot be increased by fiat. And Bitcoins fail on the first 2. They are not rare, and they are very much destructible.
Had PayPal invented Bitcoin, we'd all be heralding it as the most important financial revolution since the internet, since the credit card, perhaps. And I guess I would say, as for those first 2 points, as to it being destructible and rare, I guess I don't know if I agree with that.
He has a good point. If PayPal would have invented it, it would have been something different.
I mean, gold is only rare because it's physically scarce, but
Right.
Bitcoin is rare because it counts on the scarcity of CPU time. And so, likewise, as to destructibility, I think that's also sort of in question.
What are the chances of someone coming up with a counterfeit Bitcoin, and they present that to an end user, and they're accepting this phony Bitcoin?
I guess the chances would be astronomically low, and that's the whole design. I mean, the
Why
way
is
that the way that you create a Bitcoin is that you basically have to find a larger, rare number, bigger than any of the other Bitcoin out there. And so every Bitcoin, the next Bitcoin is even harder to create. And so I'd say right now it requires vast amounts of CPUs, generally through Amazon Cloud and things like this, to create the next Bitcoin. So it'd be exceedingly impossible or exceedingly difficult to create a counterfeit Bitcoin.
So hacking Bitcoin could be a problem, but what about someone coming up with a counterfeit that end users don't recognize as being counterfeit, and that eroding the purchasing power of all existing
Yeah,
Bitcoin?
you guys, I guess one of my concerns here too is that, you know, there's a lot of stories about drug dealers using these kind of things, and I think it's just a matter of it's not regulated, it's not controlled.
The whole Bitcoin market is about $1 billion. It's a novelty for the geek squad. I can assure you, if these became well promulgated, that the U.S. government would shut it down.
And just to give our viewers some perspective, there's about $4 trillion in currency trading every day, and as Michael said, it's about $1 billion worth of Bitcoins. It has quintupled in value over the last year. Just since the Cyprus thing came up, it's up over 20%. Over the last month or about a couple months, it's up over 40%. So it's actually getting some visibility out there. Again, you can go online and go to places where Bitcoins are accepted, and there are dozens of places, no websites that you would actually, that you know, if I said them, oh yeah, I know that, but it's just going to be very interesting to see just how much this catches on. It just sounds so silly, but maybe it's not.
David, how much of your wealth will you place in Bitcoins? What percentage would you?
I guess
would you
I
store?
believe that for any sort of a highly diversified portfolio, something like Bitcoin is going to play an increasing role.
But it could be wiped out
in
in
a different way.
If it is widely promulgated, and the exponential increase of someone trying to hack it, because there'll be many more people trying to hack it, goes up.
Well, I guess you're assuming that merely that because you can theorize the possibility that's going to happen, I would say.
Your purchasing power can be wiped out in a nanosecond, and that's why it would never be widely accepted in this country.
I hear you say that, but that doesn't make it true. And I think that there are people who spend a lot of time on this that might know this topic maybe a bit more and who would believe in it.
Is hope, and Jackie, we know that hope is a horrible strategy.
Him saying basically Bitcoin goes to zero is crazy.
the target of 5950, if we do break that 6,000 level, I'm definitely concerned about that we go down and we push even farther through that target. That would be a little concerning to me. But I think we're in inning 3 or 4 here of a bottoming process from the bubble that Scott talked about that popped and burst and came back down. When you look at the value of what a currency means, it's the number of transactions that take place and the size of transactions. And when we have Overstock.com accepting Bitcoin, when you have places like Subway, Starbucks coming online accepting Bitcoin, McDonald's may be doing that, the number of transactions will be increasing over the next year or so.
I'm surprised people think Bitcoin can never reach its old highs. I mean, we have to remember today there's not even 50 million wallets that use crypto today. But there's 4.5 billion Visa cards. So, this is the early stage for crypto, and I don't think 20,000 is going to be a problem in the future.
Extreme euphoria in November and December, and we got way ahead of ourselves in terms of like this insane tulip-like spike. Everybody realizes that. What I think is happening now is all this infrastructure is being built for institutional investors to come into cryptocurrencies. All these lingering issues around how do they manage custody, how do they deal with certain SEC regulatory issues and other investment rights issues in the US, those issues are being worked out now. And I predict that as institutional money makes its way, therefore, into the crypto space, watch out. Right? It's not going to take a lot because it's still a relatively new asset class. When was the last time planet Earth had a new asset class?
I can tell you just anecdotally, the institutional herd is starting to move their feet a little bit. They've taken a lot longer than I expected. I'm a little blue in the face from holding my breath until they get here, but it's starting to happen.
When you take a look at the volatility, the up and down movement of the price of Bitcoin, we've really seen it come down. Last year, a year ago, that thing was trading twice as fast, up and down as it is now. And when you look back to 2016, the level of volatility was actually normalized near that of an investment in the equities market. I think if we continue to get that subsiding in volatility down towards what it's like to trade in equity, I think people will get behind Bitcoin, and I think you'll see it rally just like it did 2 years ago.
You're seeing lots of activity in private markets. Matter of fact, it was a complete bear market in coins, a disastrous bear market in coins. But in privates, you would never have known. It was a bull market. It's been a bull market in talent. And it's also a bull market in institutions building the infrastructure needed for real money investors to start investing in coins. And so I think 3 to 6 months from now, there'll be the all clear sign for people to start, big institutions and pensions to start investing.
My greatest concern is that the U.S. loses competitiveness. I mean, I've spent the last year flying around the world, and I can just tell you the U.S. is already behind. I don't think they're fatally behind, but we are already behind. There's much more adoption going on in Asia. What I think is interesting, what you're seeing here, and what we saw from the Coinbase announcement, is that they are both struggling with the clarity around the U.S. rules.
And we have trouble figuring out what if something is or is not a security. So I think right now that's our first challenge, is to get some clarity on that, because once you figure out if something is or is not a security, then you can figure out all the different rules and regulations that apply.